Content is intended to provide accurate information, however, is not intended as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult a financial, legal, or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. Opinions expressed and provided are for general informational purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security.
Welcome to Game Plan for Retirement with Chris Mcintire. McIntyre Retirement Services, Northwest Ohio's retirement planning resource.
And welcome into the program. This is your Game Plan for Retirement with Northwestern Ohio's resource for that common sense approach to planning that we are all looking for in this complex financial world. He is Chris Mcintire, president and founder of McIntyre Retirement Services. Chris, always a pleasure. Welcome back to the program.
Hey, Pete, it's good to be with you this morning. I hope everybody's doing well out there today.
Well, thank you for being here, providing the guidance and perspective that you do, Chris. And I want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, before we get going, that if you've got questions or concerns, or you would like to put together your game plan for retirement, Chris Mcintire does offer his time, his services to help you in your planning efforts to get that plan put together, looking at all aspects of the plan, but trying to optimize your outcome there with that game plan for retirement, a snapshot of where you are, a discussion of and documentation of your goals, and then recommendations on how you can work to achieve them. And if you would like to get that put together, pick up the phone, give a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. And Chris, just kind of a question here to get going. Do you have any specific financial products that are your favorite or that you think are always bad? Do you have any biases in your planning as you are making recommendations to steer people toward one particular kind of concept or product or another?
Pete, that's a great question. And, I chose to be independent so that we could look objectively at, all the different attributes that any sort of investment or safe money position can provide for those. We adhere to the fiduciary responsibility. We also represent a lot of the insurance companies for life, long-term care, the annuity aspect of things as well. So, unlike some of the commercials you'll see on TV where they say this is always bad for everybody, that's certainly not the case. Many of these instruments and investments that people put their funds into, whether it be a hot mutual fund or a hot stock or, an annuity or a life insurance product, there's regulations they have to go through. Those things have to be approved before they come out into the marketplace. So, you almost wonder, why would somebody come out and run a commercial saying nobody should ever own this? I mean, that's not the case. It's like saying nobody should ever own a pickup truck, because how often do you really need one?
Yeah. But there is a bias in the financial world, it seems, or at least there is marketing that speaks to a bias where they are saying this is always the right approach, or there are specific financial instruments that are never the right approach. And I think that we would like to take some time today to sort of address some of those biases and talk about some of the products that are spoke about and help to evaluate whether or not they can or should be considered as appropriate or inappropriate in a specific situation. And so I guess many savers and investors have these common questions of what should I be doing with my money? And Chris, the answer comes in the form of kind of a rhetorical question. What do you want your money to do for you, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And, what are your specific goals, risk tolerances? Do you want to pay, fees for management pieces, or do you, sometimes commissions are better in place of fees? It just depends on the individual situation. So that's why it's so hard to just, make a blanket statement to buy term insurance and invest the difference. I own 2 whole life policies and sink as much money as I possibly can into them. So how can you say that I need to buy term and invest the difference? It's the income tax side of, cash value inside life insurance policies. That's very, very good for our particular situation and several people that we work with, obviously clients. On the other side of that, hey, not every strategy is the perfect strategy. There isn't such a thing. So nothing is perfect. Everything has good, bad, in-betweens in it. And so, our job is to help educate the people that we work with and our clients to say, look, here's a piece you might want to consider for your safe dollars. Here's the good pieces of it. Here's the bad pieces of it. Can you live with that? Because to offset that, we can do this over here, that has other attributes to complement one another. And, in the financial world, look, we got Wall Street, we've got the insurance industry, you have brokers, you have insurance agents, you have fiduciaries. I mean, there's so many different things out there to keep the people confused. And a confused mind always says no. So, maybe once they get the money, they want to keep you confused. I mean, just look at all the propaganda that's out there with politics. That also has its way into money because, hey, with money comes power. And, if you work on Wall Street, you're going to represent Wall Street and do the things that Wall Street wants you to do.
Yeah. Is there a time and place where buy term and invest the rest would be the appropriate strategy?
No question about it. I have 2 different term insurance policies as well.
Okay. All right. Well, there's marketing out there that basically states all insurance other than term is incorrect. And there's even marketing out there that says, I hate annuities and so should you. Not only do I believe that it's bad, but I believe you believe it should be bad. With those biases out there, Chris, do you find that there's people that are confused and have some predetermined belief that they shouldn't consider a product that may be appropriate for the goals that they have with their money?
When we use annuities in our practice, we typically are going to use the fixed type of annuities, which just simply pay an interest rate, a lot like a CD would do. In fact, a fixed annuity would compete with a certificate of deposit in the interest rate world. Okay? And then we'll use a fixed index annuity, which gives us some performance linked to a stock market index or indices. And we get some of the upside. We don't get any of the downside. Many of them have no fee structure whatsoever. So that has an appeal to certain clienteles that, fee is a bad word. So look, I don't care if you make a commission as long as I don't have to pay a fee.
Cost conscious investors.
Correct. Yep. And it's safe to say that the insurance, CDs don't charge you a fee to put your money into. The bank's not sending you a monthly statement with a deduction on it. They're making money off your money. And that's what the insurance industry does as well. But to say that no one should have that instrument, because I put my money in an annuity and I tied it up for 3 years. Okay. Well, look back at March of 2020 when the stock market fell 40%. Right? How much money did you lose? And is that not a surrender charge? Did you not tie up 40% of your money that somewhat evaporated, if you will?
Well, it's a very blanket statement as well, because you just described 3 or 4 different types of financial products there in the general category of annuities. There are different types, different styles. They behave differently. They do different things. So just to say in a blanket statement, I hate annuities and so should you, or that annuities are bad, seems to be very close-minded to the fact that there are different types and different styles.
Yes, absolutely. And, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan on the variable annuity side of things, because there you have direct participation in the stock market and you can suffer some significant losses when investing in the stock market. And then you may have surrender charges to get out of that. So
you do have some biases then. I mean,
yep.
You're not against the market by any means, but you don't believe that that's the best way to participate in the market?
That would be correct. And we just run, in our practice that if we're going to invest money in the stock market directly where the client can lose money, if they want to get out at the end of the day, they can do so without those surrender charges. Uh-huh. Variable annuities have another layer of fees and whatnot associated with them. So, if we're going to do that, we want to do that directly in investment portfolios and be able to get out whenever you want.
Yeah, because I think mutual funds could be said to be very complicated as well. I mean, that 200-page book that comes with the purchase of any mutual fund, the prospectus, I doubt that many people read that and fully understand it. But one thing that we do understand, if we don't like the results, we can get out when we want. And with a variable annuity, you basically have mutual funds inside of a wrapper that says you can't get out of this at a moment's notice without some cost.
Correct. Yeah. And that's just something that, in my practice and in our experience, we feel that there are better ways of doing that. Now, to transition that in the safe money side of things, that's where we use annuities as only as a safe money instrument. And sometimes it's just, to compete against bonds or, CD rates, that type of thing. Sometimes we use them because somebody needs a lifetime income. They don't have a significant amount of savings where they have the flexibility to draw off of other investments. We need to hedge that because the number one concern with today's retirees is running out of money. Well, guess what? The only instrument on the face of the planet is that will guarantee you can't run out of, I'm going to call it income, okay, that will pay you for as long as you're alive. How is that not good for millions of Americans that might not have $1 million in their 401k, for example?
So when utilized for that purpose, Social Security and pensions could be some comparable options there, or some resources that are comparable to the results that an annuity can provide for us for that lifetime income quality?
Yeah, certainly, Peter. And, some people that are listening today might be thinking of kind of what we call the previous generation, the old school annuity, where I gave the insurance company a lump sum of money. They gave me a check. If I died, they kept the balance. There's so many different options there that's not the case whatsoever. And as you and I know, with today's annuities, you can keep your money invested. Okay? Sometimes you pay a little fee to at least get that guarantee of income, but you still have control of the money. You can start and stop the income. If you die, and your kids will get the remaining balance that's in the annuity. And that's very important, from an estate planning piece, because, why on earth would anybody recommend somebody turn the money over to an insurance company, and if you die, they get to keep the rest of it? That's one of the common misnomers that we hear out there.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the qualities that in the past it did give certain annuities a bad name. The fact that that lump sum that we deposited and worked so hard to build up, it basically could disappear if we did not live a long time. But people still enjoy their pensions, Chris, the reliability of that income. And people still enjoy the reliability of the income from Social Security. Both of those sources typically behave that way, where if we pass away, an inheritance of Social Security doesn't go on to our next generation.
You're exactly right. And, and even in that traditional pension market, that's why we do, a fair amount of pension rollovers into an annuity that has a guaranteed income benefit. And it may even have a cost of living adjustment of some sort to give them a potential increasing income to combat inflation.
So you can do that, and you can give people a comparable income, but not give up control of that lump sum? Because I know that's a big debate, and people have trouble figuring out, should I take the lump sum so I have control, or should I take the pension payment so I have those protections and guarantees? But either side of those, there's some big drawbacks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, when you roll that pension over into an IRA, and let's assume you use some sort of an annuity because you want that lifetime income, that's not a taxable event. So that is an allowable event that is not taxable. That's a common misperception that we get for a lot of folks. So we structure that as like an IRA rollover or a pension rollover into an IRA account. You can very often turn the income on when you want to. So maybe you don't need it for a couple more years because one of the other spouses is working, but you want to keep it safe. You want to grow it. You want to be fee conscious there, and, and have something that can compete against the bond market or CDs, if you will. And that makes, a lot of sense for lots of Americans, especially retirees that are certainly going to be more risk conscious than, somebody at my age or even your age, Peter, you youngsters out there.
I'm getting a little gray, Chris, and it's showing more and more. But I think that if anybody is facing this decision of a pension election option, the lump sum or the income. That is something that you need to carefully sit down and weigh the benefits and the disadvantages of all the options that you have and see if you can maintain that personal control over the money that you have worked so hard to build up. You don't want to simply give up control, never to be seen again. Yes, the income and the reliability of that income certainly is beneficial for confidence in retirement, but can you get that without giving up control of the lump sum that is yours and that you are entitled to? There may be options to do that you should explore. Chris Mcintire can work through that with you or help weigh the benefits and disadvantages of the options that you have. Pick up the phone, give him a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. Or again, Chris, another alternative you mentioned, a lot of the more conservative traditional side of our investment portfolio in bonds and fixed income right now is underperforming, very low yields and interest rates, and CDs in the bank, very low yields and interest rates. There may be alternatives, it sounds like, that can produce higher rates of growth and interest, yet not have the risk of putting money in the stock market and an unknown result there.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, we've had Tom Hegna, who's kind of a national speaker on the insurance industry here on the show before. And, you know, you could be 80 years old and put your money in a certificate of deposit, and you can only, and maybe you just want to take the interest only out of it. Well, you're subject to the same rules and limitations that a 30-year-old's going to have when he puts his money in the same bank, in the same instrument. It's the interest rate environment set by basically the Federal Reserve. And as that goes down, on the annuity side, you get what are called mortality credits. So the older you get, the higher the payout would be on an annuity for you. So, you know, that's where an 80-year-old gets a significant advantage over a 30-year-old, if you will. And, you know, don't discount those mortality credits. The actuarial side of the insurance industry and the law of large numbers come into play there. And man, that is not something that is to be discounted. If you turn over $100,000 and when you're 80 years old, you're going to get a lot more income out of that than you are if you were 50 years old, for example.
Oh, plus that $100,000 in a CD right now, the income that you could generate from that might be 39 cents a month or so. It's pretty insulting right now how low the interest rates are, and certainly has not worked to the benefit of savers and investors and those wanting to protect principal, create some income, live off the interest, or create a steady, reliable stream of income. As interest rates have come down so low, it has been tougher and tougher. And so again, to find these alternatives, ladies and gentlemen, pick up the phone, give Chris Mcintire a call, explore the options, because there are solutions out there. There are strategies, there are products that are specifically designed to provide a higher income and also have several additional qualities that a lot of savers and investors really find appealing. Chris will talk to you about those and keep an open mind for all potential options that could be appropriate as he is helping you design your game plan for retirement. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. So Chris, you mentioned not particularly being fond of not utilizing a lot of variable annuities. Setting those to the side, annuities can perform several jobs. One, protecting principal. Two, protecting income. Three, generally generating a higher income than a lot of other safe money alternatives.
Certainly. And, you know, if we compare that to like the bond market nowadays, you know, with interest rates being so low and, you know, many retirees having, you know, concentrations of bond or fixed income instruments, you know, you are subject to volatility when those interest rates go up. So when interest rates go up on new bonds, older bonds are going to fall in value because you're going to have to sell it for less than what the face value is. Because for face value now, I can buy a higher interest rate. So bond volatility, inflation volatility. And for those of you that have, you know, saw your statements, probably in the month of March, especially, we had a lot of those inflationary talks going on. And that's certainly continuing. I think a 2x4 is $10 right now, Peter. Yeah. So, I mean, that's inflation. Inflation doesn't do good on fixed income pieces typically. You know, there's a lot of different types of bonds out there. So, but the U.S. government bonds, which are typically what we call the safest because, the U.S. government, hasn't defaulted on them, but they pay the lowest amount of interest. So if interest rates go up, those what we typically would call the safest bonds are going to, probably have more volatility in their pricing, if you will.
So can we structure a strategy, Chris, or are particular annuity products going to give us some potential to keep up with purchasing power throughout years, or can we structure increasing income with certain annuities?
Yeah, we sure can, because one of the more popular mechanisms with some of the companies that we utilize is if I've got my annuity set to gain growth off of the stock market index, so like the fixed index annuity, and if I have an increase in the index, then many of the companies will also increase your income by the growth of that index every year. Never go backwards, and continue that on for your life and possibly even your spouse's life, assuming you checked off a joint lifetime income. So in the perfect example that is my wife's dad retired at age 49. So let's say he got $700 a month from his pension. Okay. He's 92 right now. He still gets $700. So, he would need, at 3% inflation, you need to double that income within 24 years to live the same lifestyle, to buy the same bag of potato chips that you bought when you retired 24 years earlier.
Yeah, we have certainly seen prices go up short term, maybe accelerated a little bit more rapidly, but over the long term, we can look back 10, 15, 20 years ago and remember what things cost back then. We're certainly paying more now. And so structuring that plan for retirement income, trying to determine how much you will need, you've got to factor inflation into that equation. That's part of the game plan for retirement that Chris Mcintire will help put together with you and for you. If you'd like to get together with a qualified professional to help structure that plan, to find the best tools and strategies available to be efficient with your money and leverage your dollars where possible, pick up the phone, give Chris a call, get that game plan for retirement. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. And Chris, with the speculation that we have to take when we are invested in the market, sometimes it's hard to determine, do I have enough to retire, or what is my retirement number? Whereas there are certain products and strategies that can really help us drill down on what that retirement number needs to be. And once we've identified that, probably provide for a lot more comfort and confidence with the money that we are still taking investment risk with.
Yeah, no question about that, Peter. And, one of the ways that we'll structure an annuity in a retirement portfolio, and I'll just use $1 million because it's an easy number to use. Somebody's got $1 million 401k. So a lot of times we'll structure $200,000 to $300,000 in, I'll say, a safe money position here. Leave the $700,000 in some sort of an investment portfolio, and maybe, some aggressiveness in there, some moderate and some lower risk conservative type pieces, but then also have the ability, if I just want to make a withdrawal out of the annuity, out of my safe money piece without turning the lifetime income on, because of what happened in March of 2020, my investment portfolio, maybe I lost 25%, and God, I don't want to go in there and take money out. I could go over here in my annuity, if it's a safe money annuity, and just make a withdrawal. And the worst case scenario is you didn't make any money, but you didn't lose anything. So, there are a number of other important pieces here. Some questions that you're going to want to ask yourself is, okay, can I lose money in the type of annuity that I have? Okay? Am I going to pay a lot of fees? And if I am, what do I get for it? Right.
It's okay to pay fees as long as we know what we're getting for it.
Yep. What's my income going to be if I take it right away? What's it going to be if I take it in 5 years? If I pass away, how much of this is going to go to my beneficiaries? Or if my wife and I pass away, what's going to go down to my beneficiaries? And then, will I completely lose access to all of my money? That's a very common misnomer. Many annuities that, let's just say we're looking at a 10-year annuity, to kind of take one of the longer ones out there. The state of Ohio, you can't have an annuity that's got a 10-year surrender, or longer than a 10-year surrender charge. And typically you can access 10% of that money every single year. If you went into a nursing home, you often have the ability to go in there and take some or all of it out of there without any sort of penalty. Now, taxes are another thing. If it's an IRA and you make a withdrawal, that's going to be taxes. But we're talking about kind of like a CD and an early withdrawal penalty, if you will.
That's true anywhere, right? If it's in an IRA, no matter where you've got your money, you take a withdrawal, the IRS hasn't forgot about those dollars there. They've just let you hold them temporarily without taxes.
You're right, Peter. And, and I did an email out to our clients earlier in the month of April, and I showed them that a 20-year U.S. Treasuries have lost 12 to 14% of their value this year. In the state of Ohio, the maximum surrender charge on annuity is 10%. Well, heck, here's 20-year U.S. Treasuries that lost more than that, and that was involuntarily. I did not want to lose money. That's why I chose Treasuries, but that was the inflationary piece. So, typically in the type of annuity that's the fixed or the fixed index, you're going to know kind of the worst case scenario because it's stated in the contract.
Well, to get a little bit more certainty in your planning for the stability and foundation of your plan may be a useful alternative. You got to go through those questions, though. You got to know what you're getting into and be informed to make a well thought through decision. Chris Mcintire can work with you to formulate the plan, give you a snapshot of where you are, discuss your goals, provide recommendations for what you should be doing with your money, help you identify holes that have been left unaddressed, and then talk about the implementation of that plan and those strategies and what financial tools or products are most appropriate to help you achieve your goals. If you'd like to go through that process with a qualified, experienced professional, your planner here, your resource in Northwestern Ohio, Chris Mcintire, offers that on a complimentary, no cost, no obligation basis. That's the value of listening to the program right now, so you can take it the next step in planning. 800-868-1194, the number to call, 800-868-1194, or you can go online, McIntyreRetirementServices.com, McIntyreRetirementServices.com, or again, probably the easiest way, just pick up the phone and give a call now, 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. So Chris, we started the program talking about how every financial tool had benefits and disadvantages. And we've talked a good deal about what annuities can do. Are there any things that annuities can't do or that they don't do a good job of where you would not recommend them?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. If it's somebody that needs liquid cash or access to these funds immediately, this is not short-term money. So we do not use them in that regard. Now, to throw a caveat onto that, we have some 2-year fixed annuities, that just pay a fixed interest rate for a 2-year time frame. But in generally speaking, we don't use these as immediate cash needs. And if somebody says, look, I want to try to target 10 or 15% growth, that's not what the typical fixed or index annuity is designed to do. It's usually in that 3 to 5% range and compete against CDs and other type of instruments like bonds. And, they can hold up very well. Most people are attracted to them in the fact that most of them, you can't lose any money. And if you want a fee, usually you're selecting a product that has a rider because you want an income piece, but many of them do not have any fees associated with them. The trade-off is you just can't take all the money out of there for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, whatever that time frame is.
And as I understand it, kind of a new component to some of these annuities, Chris, is some additional protection for long-term care expenses or potential long-term care expenses into the future, a lot of times at really no additional cost and without medical underwriting.
You're exactly right. And, and that's where competition, breeds more choices for the general public here. And, one company says, hey, we've got a caveat here. If you went into a nursing home, we'll double the amount of income that we'll pay. Now, right now that leads the next company to try to add to that as well, too. And, all those monies are typically held in reserve as well, with the strict regulations inside the insurance industry. It's supposed to be boring.
Well, Chris, as we close out the program here, and again, beginning the show, going full circle, you don't have necessarily a bias toward any one product or another. You keep an open mind approach in helping your clients arrive at a conclusion for what specific product or strategy is best suited to help them achieve their specific goals, what is appropriate or inappropriate, and have those discussions and evaluations along with them on their side of the table.
Nothing is perfect out there, Peter. So let's talk about the ins and outs, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything, from a mutual fund to a bank CD. They all, none of them are perfect, and they all probably have a place in some sort of a retirement portfolio for millions of Americans.
Well, if you would like your advisor to have that kind of open mind and a fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest, Northwestern Ohio, you've got the resource of Mcintire Retirement Services and Chris Mcintire. The value of tuning into this program right now is that you can speak with him one-on-one about your specific situation, your planning needs, and he will help you put together a plan, a game plan for retirement. It's not 1,000 pages of financial jargon. It's simple, easy to understand language, and similar plans can easily go upwards of 1,000 to several thousands of dollars, but Chris Mcintire makes this offer for listeners to the program on a complimentary, no cost, no obligation basis. All you need to do is pick up the phone and give a call now. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. Chris, we always appreciate your time, your insight, your candor here on the program, telling us like it is, helping us navigate this complex financial world.
Certainly, Peter. Yep. And, we have full capabilities to do Zoom or in-person pieces now with vaccines rolling out. So give us a call. Let's sit and at least have a conversation to get things started and then see where it goes from there, folks. Everybody be safe out there.
Visit McIntyreRetirementServices.com for many additional valuable resources, including other great episodes of Game Plan for Retirement with Chris Mcintire. Be sure to subscribe.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Indexed or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract.